Hi, this is Frank Borelli. I'm the editor for Officer.com, the editorial director for the Cygnus Law Enforcement Group, which includes Officer.com, Law Enforcement Technology Magazine, and Law Enforcement Product News. Today is Monday. It's March 2nd, 2015, and I'm recording this video in response to CNN's reporting of an officer-involved shooting in Los Angeles. Now, we all know that if there's an officer-involved shooting and it's captured on video, there's going to be sensationalism that occurs, occasionally some very careful editing that occurs. They're going to try to make some money off of it by getting increased viewership and making the police officers in general look as bad as possible. Well, this one's kind of irked me. In light of Ferguson, in light of New York and Garner, in light of the already tenuous relationship that seems to exist between law enforcement officers, law enforcement professionals today, and the citizenry that we serve, it bothers me that anybody, any news organization, any news reporter would very carefully edit for the purpose of sensationalizing any news story of this magnitude, and when I say magnitude, I mean this nature. Somebody lost their life. Police officers have to live with the fact that they deployed lethal force. No police officer, no matter what the news would have you believe, no police officer goes to work thinking, ooh, I get to shoot someone today. It ain't happening. When they do have to, in the line of duty, when they're forced to, when they have no other option, they don't sit back and go, oh, well, had to happen. It eats them up. 99% of the cops in the country today were raised with the Judeo-Christian ethic of killing's wrong, morally, ethically. And when they are put in a position of having to do it to protect themselves or somebody else, that decision and that choice deserves some respect. It deserves enough treatment with honor and dignity that it's not just another tabloid hit. It's not just another news piece for some network to make a few more dollars off of, because if it bleeds, it leads. Horse hockey. Look, folks, I got a phone call today from a young lady who works for a different news organization, the one that I'm currently really ticked off at, and she wanted to know about tasers. She wanted to know how often they work, how often they don't work. Could a failed taser be to blame for this police officer having to have had to use his weapon? Well, I wasn't there. And anybody else who wasn't there should sit back and keep their mouth shut. If you weren't one of the officers on the scene, you don't know what happened from start to finish. You weren't in the fight. You don't know what the guy was doing. You don't know where his hands were. You don't know how difficult the fight was. You don't know what he did or didn't have. All you know is what somebody reported secondhand after the fact based on statements made that may or may not have been fully informed. The investigation's ongoing. And I got news for you. Even if you were one of the police officers on the scene, you don't know what your buddy next to you perceived. Unless you can see through my eyes, unless you can hear with my ears, and unless you have the innate ability to translate everything I see and hear through my life's experience, my knowledge, my training, and my background, unless you can reach inside of me and do all of that, then you don't know whether or not I was justified in deploying lethal force. The closest we get is a grand jury hearing where the evidence, facts, those things that are collected by evidence officers, measurements and photographs and witness testimony from people who actually were involved, not heard about it 3 days later and want their 10 seconds of fame, facts. The grand jury gets to hear those, and then they decide whether or not what the officer did was justified. Now, in the Ferguson case, lo and behold, the grand jury said the officer was justified, even though the news media, the mainstream media, managed to milk that story to the point where we had riots and destruction and fires and crimes and injuries and assaults and all that stupidity in response to a justified action. Stand by. Wait and watch what the mainstream media does with this one. Today's March 2nd. By March 9th, I'm willing to bet Not a whole lot because I don't make that much, but I'm willing to bet that we're going to see riots on the streets of Los Angeles, the Department of Justice calling for a civil rights investigation. Somebody's going to stand up pro bono, some lawyer's going to stand up pro bono to represent that man's family, that homeless man, that guy doesn't have any family, that's why he's homeless. Somebody's going to come out of the woodwork wanting to get money off of the fact that he died. So some lawyer is going to want his piece of that. He's going to represent that family that wouldn't do anything for their homeless relative, but all of a sudden now wants money. And the woman in the video who picked up an officer's baton, who took a stance wherein she was going to strike somebody with it, and I didn't say she was going to strike an officer because I wasn't there. However, obviously anybody looking at it, she picked up the baton, took a stance just like she was going to swing a baseball bat. She was going to hit something. She's going to sue the agency as well. Some lawyer's going to represent her pro bono, but that really means they're going to take their third after the fact. They're not doing it for free. They're not doing it because it's the right thing to do or because they believe in these people were innocent or any of that. They're going to do it free up front because they know the insurance company is going to settle out on the back end so they don't have to go to court and spend the money. All of this is going to make the police officers and the agency be cast in a negative light when they shouldn't be. The police officers did their duty. They responded to a call. They handled it in the best way they knew how and could within the circumstances and the time allotted. And lo and behold, somebody got it on video. 3 people, according to one article that I read in the LA Times, pulled the trigger. Now, if one person pulls the trigger, maybe you have a judgment call. 3 people felt they were justified in pulling the trigger. I'm pretty sure something's going on. But again, I wasn't there. Was it right or wrong? That's for the investigation and the grand jury to figure out. Not media pundits trying to make a dollar. Not armchair quarterbacks that have never been police, aren't firearms instructors or even certified to carry and use a firearm. Not taser instructors or taser certified, to carry and use a taser. They're not going to have any of that expertise, but they're all going to be critical of what the police officers did and didn't do because the mainstream media wants to make another dollar off the ad time. Give it a break, people. Cops do their duty every day, 99.9% of the time without mistake, without any ethical or moral qualms or issues or challenges or questions. They go out and they sacrifice potentially their lives, definitely time out of their lives, away from their family, on holidays and all kinds of other time. And they do it not expecting a thank you, but they do have the reasonable expectation that you won't be critical of how they went about protecting you. So hey, let's see how this one pans out. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe the mainstream media won't milk this for every penny they can get. If they hold true to form, they're going to milk it for every dollar everywhere. My brothers and sisters in blue, brown, green, whatever your color uniform, whether you're wearing a badge or a star, be safe, do your duty, the best way you know how, go home at the end of the night, at the end of your shift, go home to your loved ones. They want you there. Be safe.